Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Late Friday night, the Texas A&M commitment sweatshirt comes back on. Four-star defensive back Tylan Wilson committing to Texas A&M. Now, look, where you want to start with this commitment, Mike Elko, if nothing else, is very consistent, especially when it comes to what kind of defensive backs that he wants to fill this roster up with. Tylan Wilson, 6'2", 185, ton of versatility. Now, look, there is no verified track and field times that I could find for Tylan Wilson, but you quickly take one look at the junior year film. The last thing you are concerned about is the long speed that this kid has. Mike Elko is recruiting a gosh darn basketball team into this defensive back room. They are long and they can run and they can do a lot of different things. And we talk about this all the time, the consistency, the vision of how Mike Elko wants to build this program continues to stand out to me every time we break down a Texas A&M commitment. Now you get into Tylan Wilson specifically. What I love most is he is an all-around safety that can do just about everything you want a safety to be able to do. He is a legitimate ball hawk in the back end. His ball skills are some of the best that you see in the 2026 cycle. I believe 6 interceptions during his junior year. He's a two-way guy, so he has a lot of experience. Hey, when that football is in the air, I'm very comfortable going up and going and getting it over a lot of really good wide receivers, right? He's comfortable with the football in the air. He's also 6'2", 190. Ain't many wide receivers that are beating him to the catch point. You dive more into his film, spins down into the box, can support the run at a very high level. Tylan Wilson, there are some reps where he's playing cornerback as well. I think his man coverage ability can be an asset for Texas A&M as well, so he can spin down and maybe even play a little nickel corner. That versatility, the ability to do, be a single high safety, to be a box safety and support the run, to be a nickel corner and hold up in man coverage. When you have defensive backs that can do all of those things at a high level, it just opens up what you can be as a Texas A&M defense. And it's not only Tylan Wilson, it's pretty much everybody that has committed to Texas A&M in the secondary since Mike Elko has gotten here. This is a long, fast, versatile defensive backfield that Mike Elko is building. And look, one thing we know dang well about Mike Elko, you give him enough athletes in the back end, it's going to be a pretty dang good secondary. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting for Texas A&M over the next couple of years. It's hard not to see all of these athletic profiles that Mike Elko is shoving into that secondary. It's hard to see it not working out, especially knowing how good of a pure football coach that Mike Elko is. Want to get a little bit more into Tylan Wilson, talk about what he brings to the table, but I also want to talk about, hey, where does Texas A&M go from here, where it is, at least to me, like very clear. Mike Elko is looking at this 2026 class and say, hey, we want this group of guys to be the foundation for the next couple of years within this program, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job. Before we get into it, as always, to the Texas A&M fans who are taking time out of their Friday nights or Saturday mornings to listen to the boys break down a four-star commitment, can't thank you guys enough. There ain't nothing I'd rather be doing during my Friday nights. The amount of support y'all have shown not only today, but all summer long, been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Tylan Wilson a little bit more. The only concern, look, I love that he can do so many different things in the back end. The only concern is, look, he's about the only guy in the secondary that doesn't have verified track and field times. But again, when you turn on the film, it's really hard to see him not being fast enough to make it work in the SEC. And I'll say this, even if he is not an elite track and field guy, doesn't have that track and field speed, he's 6'2", 190. He's probably going to play around 210 pounds as he gets to Texas A&M. Even if he's not the fastest football player in the world, he's going to be able to do some things with the size and physicality he has. I think this guy's a comfortable, good enough athlete to make it work in the SEC. And again, the versatility is what stands out the most. Now, want to get into this Texas A&M class a little bit more. Let's start with this and kind of like some positive vibes real quick. Texas A&M has 26 commitments in the 2026 cycle. 24 of those players are blue chip guys according to the composite rankings. Insane blue chip ratio. And this is the kind of time of year where we start talking about blue chip ratio. You talk about some of the highest blue chip ratios that you're going to see in the country. That's what you see from this Texas A&M class in 2026. It is blue chip city from this Texas A&M class in 2026. The only non-two blue chippers are Avery Morcho on the offensive line, and he is about as close as it gets to becoming a blue chip prospect. Wouldn't be surprised if he finishes as a blue chip prospect. Then you have a kicker committed. That is incredible in terms of the amount of blue chip talent that Texas A&M has brought to this program in the 2026 cycle. Now, what does this mean for safeties? I would guess Braylon Womack is off the board now. Now, there's a chance Texas A&M continues to go after Braylon Womack. We know he is a top priority for the Aggies, but when you get into it, hey, Chance Collins, I think you have a guy in Cameron Hamil who I think has a very good shot at playing safety as well. Tamarian Watkins, safety / linebacker. You add Tylan Wilson. I don't know if Braylon Womack will be the guy that Texas A&M prioritizes over the next couple of months. I think there are some other names that Texas A&M is going to choose to allocate their resources to, which, look, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I look at the secondary in class and say, hey, I love Braylon Womack. Think he's a really good football player. Hard to be concerned about what Texas A&M has in the back end over the next couple of years. Where does Texas A&M go from here? Couple of names to throw out there. Number one, I want to start with wide receiver Jace Matthews. Jace Matthews is a really interesting cat. There are some recruiting services that are sky high on this kid. Go look at Rivals. Rivals has him as a top 20 national prospect, the number 2 wide receiver in the 2026 cycle. Now, we got a couple of wide receivers to monitor, whether it's Jace Matthews, whether it's Tristan Keys, whether it's Booby Feaster. If I'm Texas A&M or if I'm a Texas A&M fan, just one of them. One of them would do for me. Whether that's Tristan Keys, who I know is the flashiest name. I look at Jace Matthews and say he can provide a lot of value to Texas A&M as well. Whether it's Booby Feaster, any of those three, you close on one of them, feel pretty good about where the wide receiver room is. And that's one of the things I appreciate the most about Texas A&M is even if they've missed on a few of their top guys, they are pivoting to really good football players. Here's another really interesting name to monitor here, Evan Jacobson. Really intriguing athletic profile here from the state of Iowa. He's 6'7", probably going to play basketball at the college ranks as well. Look at his older brother. His older brother was a college basketball player, I believe, at Nebraska. Went to play overseas for a year professionally, decided to transition to football. He's on an NFL roster with the Saints as a tight end. I look at Evan Jacobson and say one of the things that I like about him is the catch radius. 6'7", extremely long arms. Talk about red zone target. It doesn't get much better than 6'7" Evan Jacobson. Then you dive into the junior film and say, hey, he's a legitimate tight end. A lot of these tight ends that are coming out of high school, they're just big body wide receivers that got to put on weight. Look, Evan Jacobson has to put on weight, but he plays tight end at the high school ranks. He'll be an H-back. He'll line up in line. He'll be a run blocker. I think there's some room to develop for Evan Jacobson as a run blocker, but he's a guy that he puts it on the film that he plays tight end. Another really intriguing name. And if you can close on Jace Matthews, Evan Jacobson, you're looking at arguably a top 2 class in the country. The only position group that I think any Texas A&M fans are concerned. Look, if you don't land any of the names we just talked about, I think you feel pretty good. The one position is the interior defensive line. We're going to continue to talk about that until some new targets emerge. Jamian Winfield, in-state kid that's committed to USC, certainly could be a target. There are a couple other guys that Texas A&M maybe could kind of pivot and spin back to. It's really the only position that I'm concerned about in the 2026 cycle. It's a hard position to address in the portal. I think you want to get these bodies at the high school ranks. Now, Texas A&M brought in a lot of those bodies in 2025, so I don't think they need 4 of them in 2026, but you probably want 2 to 3. So can Texas A&M land 1 or 2 more, keep Jermaine Kinsler in the fold? If you do that, you feel really good. We'll close it out there. Friday night, wanted to hop on, talk about Tylan Wilson, who is a Mike Elko kind of defensive back. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.